see that it turns green, and that means it's going. So.
Okay.
Cool.
And presentation.
Cool. All right. Welcome everyone. Happy New Year. Still the 6th of, not August, but January, so it's still legitimate to say, no, 7th, isn't it? Happy New Year. So, yeah, so graphics programming, you're in the right spot, right time. There's one of our TAs, Halvor, hello. Yeah, today's our first session. So we want to provide you a brief overview of what's gonna happen and also whom you're dealing with. So my name is Christopher Franz. You saw me in cloud computing, most of you, right? And if you like that subject so much, we can continue from there. No, of course we won't. Graphics. I'm somewhat in a coordinating role, and it's a little surprise because my background is not in graphics at all. So yeah, I'm out. Then we have David Gigil-Lashvili. Did I get it?
Yeah, that's right.
Somewhat right. Who is the actual lecturer in this course, right? So it's that's the main bulk of the teaching here. And well, his background is actually in graphics, so that's very good. Visual material experience and translucency perception, or is there anything else you should mention about yourself?
Color science, color perception.
Right. So having that background, so he's in the right position at the right time to do that. So. And we have a set of teaching assistants. So one participant is Ahmed Kedir. He may show up at times. He's not intimately involved in this iteration, but was quite involved last year in the course. And his background is in computer vision primarily, I believe, right?
Yeah, computer vision.
And for our local support, we have, of course, our two experts here. And one of them is Per Morten Straume. Who doesn't know Per Morten yet? Okay, that will change soon. You will know him because he's the go-to guy for any C++ related problem, at least for us anyway. So most likely for you as well. And he will talk about C++, the best practices in a few weeks, about debugging, programming patterns, and yeah. So those would be roughly the topics you may talk about if you want to, of course. He's currently doing masters and is at risk of leaving us this year, so it's a bit of a pity. So use the opportunity and use his competence. And we have Halvor Bakken-Smedås, who has taken the course last year, so it's also one of our assistants. He is kind of the OpenGL and shader guy, I would say, because he dug into it quite deep. If you don't know what shaders are yet, don't worry about it, you'll learn it soon enough. And when it's about time to debug them, then Halvor is your guy. So he will be involved in many of the OpenGL specific intricacies in that course. So that's us in graphics programming. Second year, yeah, you get the slides anyway, but you can take any picture or video you like. Also, the lectures are streamed, by the way. You guys, the ones of you that had cloud last semester know that we stream all the lectures. The same is the case for this one here. Most important thing, the go-to point. I know the course is formally advertised to be managed on Blackboard and the like, but of course we are not using Blackboard other than for some announcements which are sent around by email, right? But instead we're using GitLab to manage this entire course. The URL is provided here, and I think for the first, for the initial access, of course, in order to get access to the material in the first place, you probably need to type that URL, but after that you would want to keep that in your bookmarks so you can actually quickly access it. And that's where all the information for the course is, right? We link to the course descriptor, we link to the YouTube live stream, we link to the playlist so you can rewatch all the lectures we are giving, including this one right now. And of course all the course related material like lectures, contact information, which is not on there yet of us, but I'll put everything on that wiki so you can see it. And it will also be a platform for our interaction in the course, as you will see in a second.
And also for raising issues, like if you have any problem, you can raise an issue and like either we or you help each other, so it's kind of common, contributing to each other's work and solving the problems. So precisely. Everything is on this platform.
Yeah. So we use it as a go-to point as well. Cool. Right, before we get to the some course expectation, I'll just briefly run through that wiki so you actually see what platform we're actually using. And then later on I'll hand over to David, who will actually talk about the course content of what he thinks graphics should be talked about, right? So, but we get to that in a second. But before that, just get the let's get the infrastructure right, so all you guys know where you need to go to and what you need to do. Right. So for our course interaction, we are using the GitLab wiki on prog-3. So the URL is, yeah, it's not legible, admittedly. So yeah, it's not fair, isn't it?
It's the one you showed in the slide.
Yeah, that's precisely the same one. Can anyone read this?
Shall I?
Yeah, I can read it, but I was going to ask, can you put that link on Blackboard, perhaps?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send them.
Oh, you mean the
I'll send URL.
Okay.
Because they
URL.
by necessity need the URL in order to get there where we are. But cool, we'll do this. After the session, we'll send our Blackboard announcement by email, so you get to receive it as an email, which gives you the link to that very page. And the idea here is that it's kind of a GitLab project. If you have worked in other courses with us, which you have mostly, you will see that we use this infrastructure most often, and it's structured in a way that we have some sort of repository here, most importantly issues, and the wiki. Those are the main areas you need to deal with. And the wiki is your go-to point. It has all the information. We have timetabling information there. Any deadline assignments will be announced here. So we are not quite, that's of course still in the making. We're not quite done with this. The OpenGL resources, hint, yeah, no. By the way, we are working with OpenGL in that course, in case you're interested, but we get to that. That's more David's area. But so all the information that's related to this one, OpenGL, webpage, the API, tutorials, and that stuff will grow over time, but also based on your requests. So for example, if you figure out, okay, I need to get a bit more understanding on this and this issue, can you provide some resources perhaps, then we can extend this as well. Debuggers and so on. But most importantly, at the bottom you see lectures and labs, and that's where all the content was provided. You see there that we have week 1. This is the very slide set you just saw before. And we have the links to the live stream and the stream playlist for graphics, so you can rewatch all the videos on the go. Is anyone looking at the live stream right now? If it would be good to validate whether the streaming works. Anyway, but apart from that, so that's basically the main page that's going to happen here. There on the right side, you see a set of other pages, which are things like an FAQ, you know, things that are often asked. Especially when it's about setting up your graphics driver or figure out the supported OpenGL version, please.
The stream works.
The stream works, thank you very much.
Great.
Cool, it's confirmed already. Or any other kind of issues, and we'll extend that over time again based on demands and lessons learned. Because in the first few weeks, you usually have the nitty-gritty bit of getting your machines up and going, right? Everyone needs to update their graphics drivers. Did I say that explicitly? Again, let me say it again. You need to update your graphics drivers, because that's the question we ask you every time we come around the first few weeks. Did you update your graphics drivers if something doesn't work? Because it's usually a tedious bit getting your machines ready to work with the latest or the latest supported OpenGL version, respectively. And there are some pointers of how to deal with this. But that's not so much of concern today. We of course encourage you to do it as early as possible. But tomorrow in the lab, hopefully, we'll see, you know, how successful your machines work. Anyway, we get to that tomorrow. Cool. So yeah, most important thing for you is to get access to this thing. If you click on the URL that is provided or that will be provided via Blackboard, you can request access, and that's what we need you to do. You need to sign up and create an account, and then request access, please.
Will the live stream also be recorded?
Yes.
Yeah.
So everything, we have an archive, and it's like a YouTube playlist in the end. So you can rewatch in principle all the videos. They will be in chronological order, usually the latest one on top. And then you can rewatch. It's very sensible because we touch a lot of different subjects and topics. And it's a good refresher if you can just, you know, dig back in. Yes, of course.
Yeah, even if streaming has problems due to like network or something, I'm also recording it locally, so I will upload it later. So no worries about that.
Yes. So resources should be at your avail. And if you feel like you need to do recording here, I mean, it's up to you. There's some privacy concerns here possibly, but as far as I would be concerned, I don't.
Yeah, one point about signing up for this platform. Please register with your real names, because later it will be very difficult to track, because you have to submit your stuff to the repository, and like it's used for communication. So,
yeah.
And also we need to know that we get access to the right people.
because it's an open platform basically, right? So anyone can in principle request access. What are the current rules for name conventions? For GitLab?
I don't know.
Didn't you set up the notification that everyone needs to register with their student ID or something?
No.
No? Okay, cool.
Well, that was just for the Discord.
I was, yeah, sorry, different word, Discord, of course. Right, yeah, please use your, as close as possible real name or something that's remotely meaningful to us. So we, as David says, we can actually know who you know who you are, right?
Also, if I can just plug that, we have, for those of you who still aren't on the Discord, is there anyone who isn't on the programming, the Discord? Yeah, we'll get you links because there is a graphics room there, and there you can also see what people talked about last year, etc., etc. And you also have you don't have access to those channels, but we are a bunch of other people who have access to those channels as well. So it's not a requirement to sign up by no means, but we would like people to sign up to try to sort of create a community.
So that's students only, right? So we are out, so you can talk about us as well, not only about graphics. But the key is then you talk to Per Morten, and yeah, I'm not sure, you know the admin team in this area, and he'll give you the link and so on. But I think we can post the link on.
We can probably post the link there.
Yeah,
there
just put it somewhere so I don't see it and then I don't join.
The only requirement then is that you use your real name, because we are like 120 people or whatever, and we want to be able to do proper admin stuff.
Cool. Yeah, Discord, everyone. Yeah. Yeah, okay, sounds good. So yeah, that's of course also an interaction channel. One of the key things is about interactivity in this course, and it's not only about us, means David, Per Morten, and Halvor showing and teaching you concepts, me to some extent as well, but it's really about of you guys interacting as well, because you took the course last year, right? So you probably learned more by interacting with others than from the actual lectures and whatever else, right? By doing assignment and labs. And one of the tools we use for that purpose is issues. How many of you have used issue trackers before? Cool, that is about nearly half of the class, that's cool. If not, that's a good exercise to do it anyway, because in any professional software development context, you most likely use an issue tracker to deal with development stages and problems and so on. And so we do here. So the idea is that you basically anytime you have a problem, which is not just, oh, I don't know how to fix that particular nitty-gritty problem, but rather like, a issue where you need serious input on because you couldn't find a solution after a sensible amount of search using Google or other resources, then you can post an issue there. And in addition to just posting an issue there,
labels.
Exactly. As David says, you should label it. So give it a sensible short title that describes the problem concisely, more details here, code snippets, minimal code example where necessary, where sensible anyway, depending on the request. And then you should assign labels here. So so David has set up a set of sensible labels, which you can then attach your issue to. For example, if it's about operating specific issue, or about a tool that doesn't work or doesn't quite work, or you have a question about it, if it's about exam, or if it's a fix to a commonly found problem that you actually come up with, please put it there. So it's also, you can write issues on issues that you actually solve by yourself, but you think it's worthwhile sharing. We use this, we want to see that as a knowledge base where you have different issues you can just browse through and see, is that an issue that I potentially have, and what the solutions are. And once you set up an issue, you can respond to it, and others can respond to it, and so on. Use it actively. That will be a central communication point.
Also, you will probably get some different tools from us teaching assistants, or handed out, so like loggers or like helper stuff. If you find bugs in those, please actually post that up so that we can find that out as soon as possible and notify people when they fixed it.
Yeah. So that's the idea there. Or if you want a new tool, for example, right? So you actually want a new feature in one of those support tools, like the loggers, for example. Perfect, right? So put it there. That's good as well. Cool. So yeah. So once you log on, again, I'll send the Blackboard link around. But once you log on, please try it out and actually use this functionality. For labs, I'll talk about it tomorrow. But for you, most importantly, is actually to sign up to this. to this wiki once you get this email there, basically, and then we'll add you subsequently. You kind of need to see that you find a way around here, be somewhat comfortable. Once you had a look around, please let us know tomorrow if you're missing something essential at this stage. But of course, this is always work in progress, right? So it's nothing that is fixed at this stage. So what else do we need to talk about? I think I know it by heart. So this course, that's probably the most important thing. Is
you want to
still more some minor
okay.
infrastructure. I want to show the course descriptor.
Oh, okay.
Briefly. Ah, you had it open. Thank you. So cool. This course, second semester. No, what is it? Yeah, second semester, second year course. Yeah, so fourth semester course. Cool. You can do maths. That's good. He's one of us. And yes. So how does it work out? So we have assignments, 2 of them. Both of them in groups if you want. Individual is always good, but why not work in groups? Because we want to foster this learning effect. OpenGL is kind of hard, right? So by experience we see about 1/3 or if not more of the class drop off over the course of the course. And there have been claims that it may be the most challenging course of your degree. I don't know, what's your point of view?
It's also the most interesting.
Ah, also the most interesting one. So he saves the course, that's pretty good. So there's a bit of fair amount of work involved. So you kind of need to look after, but also work with each other. Of course, you need to learn, not just copy code, which is convenient. But most of the time, it won't help you actually, because your system may be slightly different and things may not work out. But as part of this, you need to submit 2 assignments, and they make up around 40% or exactly 40% of your mark. And we have the final exam, which makes up about 60% of your entire grade, and consists of a take-home exam. And this is a bit of an interesting one because it's a 3-day take-home exam. That's unique in this entire curriculum because usually it's only 2-day jams or things like we do, like in rapid prototyping, for example. But this one means 3 days on your own. In this case, you're not, well, you can of course to some extent communicate, but you are fundamentally relying on yourself to actually solve a given task that will be given then at the end of April, beginning of May. We need to figure out the exact date, because since it's a take-home exam, we can kind of negotiate the dates. So for to find a time frame that's convenient for all of you, most likely on a weekend, because that's the only time we can guarantee that we don't have lectures and that we have enough rooms in the building, right? So that's usually how it turns out, and it's not the worst of arrangements, I guess.
Well, we had some issues with rooms considering Monday after a weekend, but otherwise it was nice. Okay.
So yeah, so when we get closer to that time, we negotiate some of those aspects. But this is about 60%, but you're still not quite done. So once you submit this, you have an oral exam as well, in which you will, of course, explain what you did. So we actually know that you did it, and ask you some questions about the theory that is taught in this course, right? So it's really a very practical, hands-on course in many respects, in all the assignments, including the examination. But there's a bit relationship to the theory, of course. But we largely assume by doing the practice, you will have internalized the theory anyway, because you wouldn't get as far if you didn't understand the fundamentals lying associated with this. Hang on.
Christopher?
Yep.
You probably mentioned it, but is the home exam an individual exam
Yep.
or is it in groups?
Yeah, that's the only one that's individual. The other ones are group exams or individual. If you're really keen doing an assignment on your own, it's perfectly fine as well. We had this in the last year as well. But you are more than encouraged to do it in groups because the learning effect is a bit bigger.
So the workload then is balanced for a group rather than just for a single person?
Yes, that's right. That's precisely right. Bear in mind there is always a bit of coordination overhead in group work, so sometimes it doesn't even pay off realistically. But also I think you get a decent amount of time to solve the assignments. It's only 2 assignments fundamentally. And we hope to get the time frames about right so that we have enough space. But surprise, surprise, you may actually be able to adjust your own scope of your assignments yourself. But we get to that when we get there. Cool. Right, you probably all read the descriptor, right? We teach you something about graphics, but most importantly is about generally how does a graphics pipeline look like, what are the foundations, including the maths, that are necessary for doing graphics programming. So we do it in a demand-driven way, so actually the mathematics is taught associated with the material where we need it, right? So it's really practical. And we, of course, talk about a lot of techniques such as ray tracing. Perhaps we find time for photon mapping, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Actually, like by the end of the course, when we cover some things that are essential for completing the assignments, we are very flexible. So you can propose the topics if you're interested. We will see if we have like anyone who can provide that lecture. So the end of the course is very flexible and depends on your interests and what you want to listen.
Yeah, exactly, right? So so that will be the interesting bit, how we fill those gaps in the end, right? So yeah, precisely, cool. So you have graphics background specifically to OpenGL, but it should be transferable to other kind of frameworks that will be hot and up and coming and will be more or less hot in the future. What are other frameworks or APIs that you have heard about in the context of graphics programming?
Vulkan.
I feared that one. Yeah, you?
I was about to say Vulkan.
Okay.
DirectX.
DirectX, exactly, right? So this is the other one. Sorry?
WebGL.
WebGL, that's right. So that's we talk about WebGL as well in the later stages. Touch upon that as well.
Metal.
Metal, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Or I guess, yeah.
So framework, yeah. But you can do some of the functionality there, yeah. That's right. So, but our course will mainly focus on the OpenGL part of it. So that's the main thing. Timetable is something we need to discuss early because that looks messy. Who was scared by that? Okay, it was only me then. Good. Okay. So because if you look at it, it seems like you have little other exercises over the week because it occupies a Monday, Tuesday, and another Tuesday and a Thursday. Well, let's disambiguate this a bit. So generally, our plan is to give the Vorlesung, the lecture on Mondays, right? So around this time, from 2 to 4, with few exceptions of weeks because there are some holidays it appears. Yeah. And Tuesdays are the labs. They are at noontime on Tuesdays until 2, right? So they're usually kind of in conjunction with the actual lecture material. For whatever reason, and I don't know why, there's another lecture from 4 to 7 tomorrow on Tuesday. 4 to 5, sorry. I have no clue what the meaning of that is. I leave it to you to interpret it. I leave it to you to show up or not. But we will not. So, yeah, it's in your schedule. So if I don't know why it's there. It's literally only tomorrow. We have an additional hour, and I'm not sure what quite the value is. Is there any value? I don't know either, right? So
I think it's information about the WW technologies and graphics. You can choose.
Oh, where's the help? By whom?
All right.
255.
Yeah, I think there's in general is like a class meeting tomorrow at that time, I think, because I've talked to Tony about having a meeting before that. So
okay. And what's
something special tomorrow?
And what's the content like? What is it used for?
Oh no, I think it's to, so don't quote me on this, but I think it's talking about like the class and the semesters and how they like the programming degree. I think it was like Klassens Time with Marius and Tony or something.
It's weird that it's allocated in this very course, right? So
I think it's probably just because they needed some place to get it into their schedule. Just
so
like
it's graphics then.
Like last semester, we had all our fagfaddertime was signed up as maths in the timetable. Okay. It's probably just because they need to like say in the timetable show up somewhere.
Cool. Show up there. So 255, right? So from 4 to 5. We will just be there, see what happens. But the point is, there's no actual lecture or lab here that is related to that course strictly, right? So only tomorrow. On Thursdays, you'll see we have another allocated session. So, and this is born from the request of last year that students wanted to have a space where they can work autonomously and have, room for themselves, because it's pretty hard during the week to actually find the time and the space and the shared time, especially if you're working in group projects, to actually work together. So those 2 rooms during that time frame, 12 to 2, are reserved for your purpose. There's no lecture, no lab, nothing. Again, none of us. So sad. But you can do anything you want there. Well, not anything, but anything course related you want there, right? So, so please bear that in mind. If you need the time for your group, you want to work together, this is your time, because in this time it's guaranteed that none of you has another lecture. Yeah, so you know that your team will be available at those time frames. That's why we have it slotted in. But technically, it's not a lecture, so it's up to you. That's your discretion to use.
Yeah, it's optional. Like,
yeah,
there will be no like teaching stuff there. So it's just only you. If you need to work with your classmates, yeah, it's just optional part.
Cool. So yeah, so just to bear that in mind, if you look at the schedule and kind of get worried, Monday, Tuesday is the main action, and that will happen here, and then 254 in the upstairs in the bar. Is that still the base room for game programming?
No, it's the next to it.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. So 254 is the lab tomorrow. Cool. So that's it from my side, lovely. The only thing that is super important to get right is the so-called Evalueringsgruppe. Was it about right? No. I'm trying my Norse. It's not quite there yet.
Close enough.
Close enough. Good. And I need some volunteers. You guys have, you're aware about evaluation groups? Yes? Yeah. You need to have any course, right? Because you need to give us feedback. And that's super important, this course, because this course is a bit the odd one out here. That we kind of, not 100% aligned with the curriculum. We kind of drift a bit in our graphics corner and so on. And we need ideally three volunteers who want to be in that group. Your obligation, well, that was quick. Give me a second there, I need your name. So, because we need feedback, we have 3 sessions in a semester. You're not even sure what you're signing up for.
No idea. No idea what I want to.
Okay. What do you want? Okay, it's good. So we have technically 3 sessions in the entire semester, and it's really about feedback. That you guys, those guys then, are points of contact for the rest of the class saying, hey, that's not going to work, or that's actually very good, or that you could, opportunities for improvement or things that don't work out. So we can actually have a discussion about it and then think about how we adjust it, how we can accommodate this during the course. But also we have then in the midst of the course, after the first assignment, usually a session or before the exam anyway, and then a post-mortem one at the very end of the course. And then we can do kind of a wrap up and say, okay, how was the exam? So it's about you having your say in the widest sense. So then talk to those guys, they share feedback. And now it comes, the only obligation on your part is actually to write a little nice report that needs to be sent to, us, which is kind of defeating the purpose to some extent, but because we have a discussion beforehand, but we actually send it for archiving with NTNU Trondheim, right? So we write, we need to send this on. So we need 3 volunteers. We found 3 volunteers, that's brilliant. Can I suggest that could you write me perhaps an email and just indicate your respective names, or just by writing an email, I want to be, I'm volunteering for the evaluation group, just do that email address up there, and then I'll put it into the wiki and so on, and then we think about appointments or times where we actually meet together and talk, right? So that's cool. 3 volunteers is perfect. That was the fastest ever. Cool. Okay. Graphics is generally pretty good. Students are motivated. It's good. So it's all about motivation. Okay. That's it from my side. That was a long talk. What's the time right now? Still a few minutes. Do you want to take a break first before David goes into the meet, or do you want to go?
Sure. Like, it will be kind of weird for him to talk for about
15 minutes.
15 minutes
Good.
and then stop.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Cool. I hand over to David. So now your expertise comes to play. So please, the floor is yours.
So shall we take the break or not?
No, 15 minutes.
It depends on how you want to do it. Do you want to speak in one sitting, or do you want to stop in the middle?
Take the break.
Whichever is more interesting to you, like.
So take a break now or in 15 minutes. Who wants to take a break now? Hands. Who wants to take a break in 3 o'clock in 15 minutes? So most people tend to want to take a break now, I guess. Is it? So give them, 10 minutes, I guess?
Yeah, okay.
That was the democratic approach. Sorry for that. Happens at times.
Okay, let's start then 5 minutes to 3.
Cool. Tend to interrupt the stream then.